adventurers, something crazy happened, and I'm not exactly sure how. I was on my way to another destination, and as I was driving down the road that took me there, all of a sudden I saw the Capitol Reef sign, and I thought, I don't know how exactly I got here, because I thought we were going to go under it, but boy, am I happy that we did. It is so epic. When you pull in, you go from this forested area where we saw all these beautiful leaves on our last episode to this red rock that reminds me of, the red rocks in several different places. Well, Colorado, Nevada, places like that. But this is so much different. Things are so much taller. It is massive. So instead of me talking about it, let's just roll the intro and get right to it. You can see the drive-in was spectacular, but it didn't stop there. The further that I got in, the more formations I started finding, and I actually stumbled upon something that might be a little bit reminiscent of earlier in our trip when we were actually going through, the middle part of America. How is it that there's something that could be so similar to the middle part of America? Well, I found Chimney Rock. A different one, of course. There it is. This is their Chimney Rock. And as you can see, it's not just a tower. It actually has something attached to it. Wait, there's more. Of course there's more. This just started. We have so many more things to do here. Clearly one side. What's the other side look like? Well, I would just say it kind of looks like the moon. It just looks like broken up clay and rocks, and it's not near as impressive. As you can see, this side not near as cool as that side. But as we keep going, we're just going to keep seeing all of the amazing formations along this side, and I hope it kind of opens up over here. But we'll see. Just up from where we stopped is Panorama Point, and we're about to go check it out. There's a nice little parking area, as you can see, and then we're gonna walk right up here so that we can get those awesome views. But guys, I think I found a way to get even further out here. Let's see. We'll be a little adventurous out here. Love this gap, so we're not gonna go to here, but I mean, we're pretty good right here. Yeah, that's beautiful. This is spectacular how this rock has been weathered away. It looks like a little Mesa Verde all in here. So here at Capitol Reef, they tell you that you are part of the solution to the air quality issue. So they encourage you to think a little bit more safely in terms of your footprint, your emissions, things like that. They have a photo over here that shows the difference between a few years, and it's insane to see how much difference that just pollution has made. Let's go one more place before we go back to the car, which is right over here. Okay, there's one more little area that we can kind of go out on the rocks, and I'm so excited. Look at the patterns on the rocks. This is really cool. There's some of that where it looks kind of like it's eroding into circles, and these look like waves. This is what happens when the circles get really intense. I wonder what forms this. I'm gonna have to figure this out. It's like popcorn almost. This is why I wanted to come over here. If you look really closely, you can see all sorts of interesting erosion on this. Okay, that was well worth the extra 50 yards. I find that a lot of times whenever you don't take the extra tiny little step to go see the other viewpoint, you miss out. And had we have not, we would have missed out on that amazing structure and also the really interesting rock pattern. One thing I will say about Capitol Reef is the little turnouts just all of a sudden come up, and if you happen to be trying to pay attention to traffic that's around you, you miss them really quickly. I don't know how on earth I've missed like 3 different pullouts. They're just like boop, and then they're gone. I'm stopping off at the visitor center. I found it. We need a map. We need a map really bad, guys. I have seen more of these in this trip than I have ever seen. It is a company that's called Cruise America, and they do rentals. And I only say this because there's like 3 of them like right here. So for anybody who's at home who doesn't feel comfortable doing a camping experience in maybe a tent, possibly one of these is for you. This is not sponsored. I just keep seeing them, so I thought I should share. Make sure I take pictures of each and every one of these and reference them whenever I blog. So hop on over to moneyplacehere.com and you can see the full information of all of these items in the visitor center in more detail. But we're just gonna kind of skim over some of the highlights. Now this is something we can all identify with from science class. Deposition, uplift, erosion. And it tells a little bit more about each one of these and how it pertains to where we are. Now the reason we always stop in the visitor center, other than a map, is to find out what we might encounter while exploring. So this section tells us that right here with all these little critters, and a little bit over here, there's a snake. Ew. I already saw one of these whenever I was coming in a while ago, swooping extra low. That is a falcon. And we could do without seeing him. Especially if you have small children, don't let them run off. He's like that. Now there were various groups who came through this area, including, but not limited to, prehistoric archaics, ancestral Pueblo, and Fremont cultures. Not to mention the variety of other Native American cultures who passed through. And because of that, they've been able to find these really cool things, like moccasins and dishes, different adaptations of corn. Of course they found arrowheads, and then they found the pictographs. Lots of pictographs. From those cultures to today, obviously there have been a lot of things that have happened, but the first people who were considered settlers to the area were from Spain, and they came through looking for routes that they could get to California, and also doing like little scientific things. So there's been tons of things going on, from the Spanish to the Mormons to the present day. Now that we have a backstory, let's go shopping and get a map. We have gotten everything that we need, taken ourselves a little stretch and relax break, and now it's time for us to get back in the car and reference our new map. We will not be lost anymore. This is the area we're currently in at Capitol Reef, and as you can see, this is where we saw Chimney Rock. This is where I missed the castle because I did not see the viewpoint. Looks like there's a rim overlook, a Hickman Bridge, and a Capitol Dome. All 3 of those are gonna have pullouts that we can check them out, it looks like, see? So now it's time to get back on the road again and go check out these things. There's also some other cool things that are on this map talking about, you know, what to do to be prepared, what you can do if you have a day or a half day, kind of like we were talking about in our last video. They have that all kind of in print for you to take with you, which is super handy. Now this is just another map showing you the whole park instead of just the area that we're in, and we're on 24 here, so if you can see, we're at the visitor center. If we continue on 24, which we need to do to get to our next destination, we're actually going to leave the park in about 9 miles. But the park is massive, so there's all of this area and all of this area that you can come out and explore at any time. I wasn't planning on stopping just quite so soon. I've literally gone maybe a mile, maybe, but I saw these signs that say, you pick fruit. and I just thought that was something that was of interest. So I pulled off, and here I am. There's a huge orchard down here, and you can pick your own fruit. So let's find out a little bit more about it, I guess, by reading what exactly this is and what it requires to do so. Start out by looking at this book that they have, and it talks about the industry here. As you can see, it has the history, the orchards, the maps, and it goes into more detail, which is really cool. 50 total varieties of fruit? What? Now that we know a little bit more about it, there's a little bit more to this process than just going in and picking some fruit. First of all, they make you aware of ladder safety, which I think is great because, well, not everybody should be on a ladder. Next, there is the official history on the poster here, along with the regulations. Let's look at the regulations a little closer. Harvest ripe fruit. Don't get the bad stuff. Don't get the stuff's not ready. Please do not pick unripe fruit. So it reiterates number 1. Okay. These are the hours. It shows here you're not supposed to climb the trees. You cannot use hammocks here. You can only have leashed pets. You're not supposed to touch objects. And it's up to you to be safe. Okay. Got it. What's next? What's next? Well, there's this sign right here. The orchard is open. They currently have apples. It is $1 per pound, and you can weigh them right here. And then you drop your money in right here. So, seems pretty simple, right? Why don't we go inside? I don't know that I'll necessarily pick any apples, but I might if I find some that just look delicious. The Jackson Orchard, and what better views at an orchard could you have? So this gate is on a rock system. It's pretty intense. Whew, okay. This is the rock. Whenever you open the gate, it lifts up. Here are all the tools should we decide that we want to pick anything. I have actually used one of these before when Pam and I were traveling and we picked grapefruits. Now, if this is a trick and I do not come back, I hope somehow you guys see this footage and know I went the way the sign told me to. We are moving into the orchard. Now I can already see that there are a lot of very small apples that are not ready to be picked, so we're not going to even think about those. But it looks as though there might be a few that possibly could be ready soon. And then there's some really, really big birds. What are these birds and why? There's dozens of them, and I think they're maybe turkeys. I don't know. I just know that I don't want them to come near me. Oh God, there's more over here. Oh, this is turning into an experience I wasn't expecting. It's kind of sad because a lot of the trees have downed apples and they're just sitting there. And the birds look like they're eating them, but you know, still, those were apples that could have been picked by a person. Now these trees over here have lots of really red looking apples. Let's see if they're ready to be picked. Look at all of these, they're all so green. I don't think today is gonna be apple picking day for us. I just don't see it happening. There were some good looking ones on some of those trees, but at the same time, I have a long way to drive still, and I know they will not hold up until I get home. So there's no point in me getting more than like maybe 1 or 2 apples. And that's kind of pointless. So, it's a beautiful day here in the apple orchard, and I'm so glad that I came out, but at the same time, I'm gonna leave the apples for everybody else. But before we go, I've always wanted to say this on a video. How about them apples? Apparently sometimes they also have pears, just not right now. Let's work out, guys. We're about to open this gate. We need all the strength we can get. Okay, here we go. There goes the stone. And we're out. Now let's not let it slam. That was some superior conditioning. Ooh. I must say this next stop is a little intimidating when you're actually in your car at the base of the mountain and all you can see are very, very large boulders. The boulders behind us are not why we are here, adventurers. We're actually here to see the old schoolhouse. That's right, there's a little grove over here as well. There's a sign. We're gonna check that out since we just went apple picking. But first we're gonna go check out the schoolhouse, which is a pretty cool old building with this amazing view behind us. Look at this. I mean, how would you ever not be distracted? I would never learn anything looking at this all day. As we look at this, we first stop off at our sign, again because we learn this way. And this is actually the only public building that was in the Phoenicia area and served it as a schoolhouse, first of all, but they also use it as a meeting hall and a church. And with all of those things, you would think that it would be much larger than it is, but it's little bitty. Little. For a reference point, we're going to do a step test and we're going to step off to see how long and how wide it is because it's not that big. Okay, here we go. Feet down, see the corner, and pace.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11.
So 11 paces. Now that doesn't mean 11 feet because my pace is a little bit bigger than a foot. So I want to say that when I step, it's probably about 1.5 feet. So 11 times 1.5 feet, that's our length. Our length. Now let's do our width.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10.
10. So again, 10 times 1.5 feet. There we go. Not big. Not big at all. But what's it look like inside? That's another question. Pretty typical one-room schoolhouse, with the exception of that trash bag and trash can, which look vaguely new. And what's that? Is that a folding chair in the back? I think it is. As you can see, they've kept it pretty much traditional. They do have a few little misses there, just a couple. But, you know, all in all, not too bad. Now, something that does really bother me is that you can see that people have etched in the wood, and you know that bothers me. Like, I'm not gonna be happy with this, guys. I feel like there's just way too much history in a building like this for you just to go and, hi, I was here. That's so disrespectful. There's one more thing right over here we're gonna go look at. I feel as though this had to have been intentional, because with that sign over there saying that there is a penalty for defacing things, and this being such a bold defacement, I feel like it had to have been here on purpose. But they have definitely labeled where we are. See what I was talking about? That is so intentional. It couldn't just be like the vandalism, like all the other stuff around it. Shame on you guys. Now it's time to go to the orchard. It's not near as large as the other, but it definitely was an orchard, and there's still a few small trees scattered. So let's see what this sign says. Well, this is the Amasa Pierce Grove. This place was left here because the person who actually had this, Amasa Pierce, actually was instrumental not only in rallying to create the schoolhouse that we just looked at, but also to change the name of this community which once existed. In 1904, it became Phoenicia. It was Junction before. I mean, there's so many junctions. Ew. Phoenicia sounds so much more thriving and happy. And it kind of works with all the orchards that they had here. It's fruit. It makes sense. So, yeah, that's why this is here. Something kind of neat about stopping at the You Pick Apples section, they had those little books. It actually tells you where all of the different orchards in the park are. There are several. So you could take a whole day just to go check out the orchards, or you could take a whole day to hike. There are so many different activities you can do here, and I had no idea. Speaking of things to do, we're about to go check out some petroglyphs. Yeah, there's petroglyphs too. It's the park that never stops. There's so many different activities here. And so, petroglyphs, here we come. Now, if you look at the sign, it's going to tell us where to look. And then we have this nice boardwalk to walk out on so that we can actually find it. If we're still struggling, we can use these free. I see them, and we're about to see them too. Oh, this is really, really nice. I haven't seen any petroglyphs that look quite like these before. I've seen tons of petroglyphs over my travels, but these are very different. I wonder which people created them. I'm gonna have to go back and read. Okay, so there's another boardwalk also. We're gonna go check that one out and see what we can see. See, here's the other boardwalk, guys. It's not that far. Less than 100 yards from the last one. Let's just hope it doesn't decide to, you know, flake off anymore while we're here. There was a sign back there that totally showed that since the 50s, one whole wall is gone. That's a little intimidating. These are not small stones. I am not one to normally freak out, but there is something in the grass right below us. And I don't know what it is. And it's kind of loud. And I want to find out, but I'm scared. And now it's stopped. Oh God. Does that mean it's coming for me? I'll just keep it moving a little bit further away. Oh, oh, I think it's following me, whatever it is. That does not make me feel good. This is not a petroglyph. This is vandalism. Why? Why? There's no telling how many petroglyphs were lost in all of this falling and breaking. But I did find some right up here that are actually petroglyphs. If only I knew what they meant. I think that's the hardest part of coming out to places like this and seeing something so cool, is not necessarily understanding what it means. That just means more research. But it's hard to research a symbol. Like, it's easier to research words, times, destinations, but symbols. Like, where do you even start? Another one right here, but it's really faint because of the shadow. So let's see if we zoom in if it'll come through. There it is. That one I've seen before. Look at the little man under it though. I just wonder what all of this looked like whenever they actually did those etchings. Because if it was straight mountain, how did they get there? But that's the case with a lot of the petroglyph sites. It's always one of those make you go, moments. This last 9 miles out of the park, I'm thoroughly enjoying, and I have spent a considerable amount of time just driving around and stopping at various points. I did not expect to find this many things without having to really just hike, and because I didn't have time to do the really awesome hikes, I thought I was really going to miss out on the park. But I feel like I'm getting to see it from a unique perspective with the orchards and the boardwalks, the petroglyphs, the old buildings. It's really one of those places that if you could spend a week here, you could easily occupy an entire week, very simplistically. But since we only have a few hours, we're getting a lot out of this. I swear I'm gonna start naming formations as I go past them, just like I do in caves. I saw one just a while ago that looked like a nose. Yeah. I just feel like that makes it a little bit more fun while you're traveling. Give things random names that only you understand. I mean, why not? They're not named otherwise to where I know what they are at least. Another stop? I think so. I found a historic cabin. But before we go look at the cabin, we're gonna go check out the information about the cabin so we'll know what we're looking at. This is a modest cabin which stands as a reminder of the hardships of early settlers. I mean, that kind of makes sense. That's what most of these cabins are. Remnants of the past when it was probably a lot. No, not probably. It was a lot harder. But there's more. The cabin was built in 1882, so it's been around a few times. Just so you know, it was so difficult to live here that within 1 year of building this cabin, they up and moved out. It was over. They couldn't do it anymore. Why was it hard though? I'm glad you asked. It was hard because they continuously had flash flooding, which completely destroyed their irrigation system. And without their irrigation system, it was too dry. So it's kind of hard to think that they could have flooding but also be dry, but that's how it works around here. It's insane how the weather just is like monsoon-like and then done. This was the family. This is Elijah and his wife Tabitha, and 11 of their 13 children. So where did they end up? Well, they moved to Phoenicia, just up the road. And while it's a quick drive for us here in the car, it was still a substantial little move for them. But this is where it all started. Now keep in mind, Elijah, Tabitha, 13 children, 1 cabin, and here it is. That's it, guys. That's it. 13 kids, 2 parents. Wow. And in case you think it's a little illusion, just look. Nope, not an illusion. Not an illusion. Just that small. Unlike the schoolhouse that used more of the log cabin style building, it looks like they used the resources they had around them. Looks like the rock and something like an adobe. And that's how they created their home. It probably did withstand a lot better than it would have with those conditions if they would have built out of wood though. Because this thing doesn't look like it's going anywhere. Can't see inside because there was only 1 window and it was about the size of my foot. I'm only 7.5, so yeah, tiny, and it was boarded up. But it looks like they had a fireplace here and 1 room. That was it. They probably did everything else outdoors. They might have had an area where they kept their crops, but that's not here anymore. I don't honestly know where they did what. This is their backyard, and this looks like a big staircase with a little path to it. I remember what it reminds me of. These walls remind me of Owl Canyon, just outside of Vegas. Yeah. Thanks for coming with me today to Capitol Reef. I hope that you enjoyed all the amazing scenery and the options that are there. I wasn't expecting to go there, but boy, am I sure glad I did. Till next time, guys. Bye.